you could go back, would you do it all over again?
Would I do what all over again?
Make comics.
No, I think I would have wanted to be a movie star. I mean, Brad Pitt needs some competition. And it's easier than writing stories. Somebody gives you what you have to say, and everybody fusses over you. Make sure his hair is okay. Are you comfortable, Mr. Pitt? Is that chair good for you? Are you ready to go on? I'm getting so jealous of Brad Pitt. He better not show up here.
So we know that Stan Lee passed away November 12th, 2018. For a lot of us comic book and movie fans, it hit us like a ton of bricks. Of course, we knew it would happen someday, but it didn't change the fact that when it did happen, it still felt like losing a beloved family member. I was honestly moved to see the outpouring of support from so many fans. Even people who I didn't know were fans were sharing posts and commenting about the loss on social media. In the days following his loss, I knew I wanted to post a video about him, but I kind of struggled to find the words. I'd watched a few other YouTube videos and saw tons of social media posts, which were all really awesome. I also heard what the commentators said who spoke ill of Stan Lee and his legacy. That angered me a lot, but it also pointed me in the direction of what kind of video I wanted to make. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the immortal legacy of Stan Lee. So there were a lot of really awesome social media posts, but one in particular stuck out to me. I'll be honest, it nearly kind of brought me to tears, but I think it perfectly captures why Stan Lee meant so much to so many people around the world. So I saw this on my Facebook feed, and here's the portion that really resonated with me the most. It says, "I can't properly describe what Stan Lee meant to me. As an abused kid, tortured at home, and tormented at school, comic books were my anchor in all that chaos. Spider-Man, Hulk, Fantastic Four, and the X-Men were so important when I was in grade school. They were all outsiders too. They taught me honor that my parents didn't have, forgiveness that my relatives couldn't grasp, and no hatred of anybody who dares to be different." And a letters page with Stan Lee's cheery "Nuff said" and "Excelsior" were godsends to my lonely and shivering little self. They were proof that there were others out there who loved comics just like me. Stan Lee's legacy is more than a creator, writer, or even face of an industry. Through his writing and personality, he was a counselor, friend, guardian, and even parent. He was a light for so many who were lost. In his writing and in person, Stan championed the causes of the different. He created the X-Men as a direct statement against racism and xenophobia. The Hulk was an allegory for the anger of those who had been abused. Captain America showed that true courage lies in anyone, no matter what their physical appearance is. Black Panther showed a populace that had been depicted as downtrodden and poverty-stricken, as regal and mighty. The Avengers showed that when people of different backgrounds and walks of life come together, anything is possible. I think if you piled all of his accomplishments together, they would still pale in comparison to the fact that he served his country in a time of war, was a friend and mentor to so many who decided to join the comic book industry. He was a loving father and husband, and above all else, he was an exceptional human being. I was lucky enough to meet Stan Lee on one occasion. I posted the story on my Facebook page, but I'll share it here too. Several years ago, my wife surprised me with a Wizard World Stan Lee exclusive badge. I actually didn't want it at first. My reason was because I hadn't had any published comic book work yet, and I didn't want to meet him until I had a copy of my work to give to him and to let him know that he inspired me to want to be a comic creator. Thankfully, my wife convinced me that I should just go anyways, so we did. I remember seeing Stan Lee in person. He was sitting there and he was smiling warmly. and he genuinely seemed happy to be taking a photo with us. He actually looked really tiny and fragile in real life. I honestly wanted to give him a hug, but I didn't. The funny thing is, my wife told me I was starstruck and I looked super goofy just standing there, but she snapped me out of it and we took the photo. Stan actually thanked us and we left. I would see him a little later that day when he signed my copy of X-Men #3, and I'm just eternally grateful to my wife for helping me to meet one of my heroes. The day that he passed, I actually felt pretty down. I told my wife, it's kind of stupid. I really shouldn't feel so sad about somebody I didn't know personally. Except the more that I really thought about it, through his stories, his personality, and his general love for everyone who enjoyed the comics medium, it really felt like I did know him. I think this is something similar to what others felt when they learned of his passing, and why there's a genuine pain that's felt to know that he's gone. If nothing else, what you should know about Stan Lee is that he was a radiant star and a beacon of hope for people of all walks of life from all different parts of the world. With his wit, charm, and skill, he stood shoulder to shoulder with super soldiers, dark knights, mighty mutants, green Goliaths, and men of steel. And he truly was the best there was at what he did. So those are just my thoughts on Stan Lee.